there, welcome to Prime Time. I'm Paul Orford and I'm back with Albina Zhdanova from Tools for Brokers. And what we really wanted to talk about today was how to build a winning team. And well, I think it's quite tough actually to build a winning team, because not only it's hard to get good people working for you, but how do you find if they are good or not? So what was the first step for you? How do you find them, first of all?
Recently I prepared a document for my team, for the head managers of different offices, how to find the proper people, the right people to work. So it's a full-list document about how much work you need to do yourself even before interviewing, even before posting a vacancy, because you need to know what exactly you're expecting to see, what type of person it should be, and the better picture you have of that person, the more you understand during the interview if that person suits this picture that you have in your mind or not. You need to look at your existing team, what kind of strengths they have, what kind of weaknesses maybe as the team they have, which field is not covered, and find these qualities in that new person.
All right, so you're really also relying upon the feedback from your team, honest feedback, to say, look, the strengths and weaknesses that they have, to kind of improve the weaknesses and also improve the strengths.
Yeah, it's different from one team to another because we are IT company, so we need to have developers, Q&As, testing, then all the back office, and for different position it's different type of personalities, different type of ambitiousness, different type of involvement, and for each position it's like I have the same the set of the questions that, like, if person prefers to work by himself or in a team, or we can ask the questions, for example, the basic question like what was your biggest achievements so far, or 3 biggest achievements that you see, and then you see as well if the person tells about these achievements more private or work, more things that he achieved himself or those achievements that been done with a team. So these questions that don't have correct answer, but they're just showing the personality of person, what are his values, and then you matching it if this attitude is something that fits the team where he's going to work.
Okay, so is it, in English we'd call it psychometric testing, right? So is that how you do it? Like, it's very scientific where you put the answers in and then...
No, we just ask people straight away. So we have the test before the interview. Depends on the position, but for the project managers, for example, or product managers, we have some tests just to see how people is thinking, how his ideas or thoughts are flowing, if he needs to organize something, some process, and that's the only thing we do for a test. And then the rest is conversation only.
Is it harder to recruit a salesperson as opposed to a developer? Because a developer, there's kind of a test which they can either pass or fail, I guess. With a salesperson, it's different.
A developer is more difficult because salespeople are more talkative just by nature. You can see if person fits your environment in the office. With the developers, because it's just the skills, but we value very, very high the environment in the office, how people interact with each other, how comfortable it is to work with each other. And with the developers, first of all, there are so many developers now in St. Petersburg as well, which pass just some express courses and ready to be a developer and asking for a very high salaries with zero knowledge, basically. So they very often overvalue their own skills. So it's like you have a lot of interviews when people can't really, because developers, it's very creative work. They are very creative people, and you need to have very flexible mindset to be able to sort things, to develop the product. Sweet spot here.
Yeah. All right, cool. So you got offices in a lot of different countries. Is it? I guess you have to take different cultural situations into account when you're recruiting, say, for your Thai office, for your Chinese office, for the London office? How do you cover this?
We ask local people, of course, before how we do the research, what motivates people there, because especially in some Asian countries, people don't like to feel stress at all.
Right.
Like with this, the word KPI for them is something like, oh my God, I'm not going to do that. Like, why to be so stressed with the KPI? Just do what you have to do. And they have different motivations. So we're looking first, of course, on what really makes people thriving, and then because in the end, people, when they go work, they have some aims. They maybe just want to have some salary. We usually work with people that have more ideas than just getting some salary. We're working with people that want to express themselves, that want to achieve something, that want to grow, to always grow, constantly improving themselves. So that basic things they can find in all the countries, and then it's in terms of for the management team, how you work with them, how you give a feedback for them, what management language they actually accepting, how to improve and help them to grow.
So does it improve you as like the COO of the company, like where you really do have to take into account people's feelings from different cultures? Because like if you're just dealing with Russians, for example, you would know this is how I deal with Russian, it's nice and easy. But if you're dealing with someone from, say, Japan, it's so different, I guess, isn't it?
It is very difficult, and now I immediately remember I have some stories in mind which I will maybe not better tell. When I just moved to China, and the first person that I hired as a sales person, it didn't work out completely. One was very good, and he's still in the company and like very perfect fit, but the sales was like completely not for our company, and the way I dealt with that type was very like the one that I used to do in Russia, which in China didn't really work. But I learned my lesson immediately. I've never done that mistake anymore.
Yeah.
So it's always talking and giving the correct, right feedback, and always giving person a way how you see as a manager, how you see the growth and the potential. And if person, for example, doesn't have this ambitious and just happy with the things that he or she is doing on a daily basis, and they're very good at that, and the company is very happy with this process, like then it's no stress.
I think a lot of people, this is my experience locally, you may have had it completely different, is that in the Forex industry in Cyprus, when they're doing a Chinese market, they were like, okay, let's find a Chinese person and teach them Forex, which was a bit of a disaster, I think, in a lot of cases, because it's a very complex language, and there's not a lot of people over here who can do it. But back then there was a lot of money to be made from China, and it was just a disaster a lot of the times, so it's their fault, I guess. Before
moving to Shanghai, I started to learn Chinese language because
yeah. Put me to shame.
Huh?
Put me to shame. All these languages.
Because I believe that language is covering a lot of cultural things, and the reason I started to learn Chinese language is because I knew that I will understand the way of thinking, because language is actually forming the way we giving thoughts, the way we structure our thoughts and the way we're thinking, and that I think helped me a lot, because first important thing and the biggest maybe that I realized that sometimes when Chinese person tells you something on English language, I know because I'm still learning Chinese. I know that this is the most polite sentence on Chinese. It's like direct translation of the very polite sentence on Chinese language. And while in English it may sound rude, because in English you have like so many words that you can just cut off the sentence to keep the sense. In Russia it's the same, we just keep the sense, like make it very short. But Chinese, when they trying, like when they really doing their best to say it politely, you can see it.
How do you even begin to learn Chinese? Do you have like a personal teacher, or is it done on the internet? 'Cause that just seems such a massive thing to do, because it's just a complex language.
We have a fantastic school in St. Petersburg. They have a different approach to to learning language, like for kids, because kids, how when they're learning language, they just getting used to it because they hear it from the conversation, not from the rules, from the grammar, but more on the conversational level. So now we had 2-3 different teachers, because each of the provinces, they have different dialects and different pronunciations. It was so funny as well, because sometimes we say something that we learned from on another language, and new teacher is saying, we never say that, we never say like that, where do you know that? Like we just have one source of learning. So it's still, I have 2-3 teachers with whom I have lessons.
So how competent would you be then? Like if I dropped you in Shanghai now, like going, you could cope, I guess, can you? But you get around.
Of course. When I just moved to Shanghai, it was much worse, because I could only speak, like just introduce myself, say very short sentences. Now I will be able to not just to survive, but actually to do.
That's awesome though. I mean, because it really is, like, I just always imagine when I went to Shanghai there and Japan, like for me there's no English, none at all, like all minimal, you know, so you do have to, if you want to thrive there, not just kind of get along the minimum baseline, which is no good for anybody, you know, you do need to do it.
But we are living in the IT world now. When I just moved to Shanghai, and I found a gym where I went, and I've been asking about the membership, like what is the price. We used the translator, so the administrator used an app to record my voice. He would check what I said and answer me on Chinese, which been translated for me on English.
How was it living there then in Shanghai? Was it a massive cultural difference compared to Russia?
It was very challenging. It was very huge difference for me, and it was one of the most difficult, challenging, and the most important time of my life, because I had to. First of all, it was a challenge to set up an office in a new country. I had to find people, I had to establish, and without properly speaking Chinese, I had to find the clients there and just to build the company. So it was very, very challenging, and the feeling I had is that I've been standing on the helicopter with a parachute, and they have written instruction how to do. I've never done that before, and I need to jump down now and just to sort it out.
But that's the best way though, isn't it? Just to kind of do it. Because if you start overthinking it too much, you know what I mean? You just go a bit crazy, you know? So, all right, cool. Well, let's wrap it up there. Really, really interesting conversation. If you want to get hold of like I say, whether it's a Thai office, Chinese office, South Korea? No, because you spent time in Korea as well, didn't you?
No.
Oh, sorry.
It's okay.
Maybe you should next time. Maybe your holidays.
Consider that.
London office, Cyprus office. So it kind of covers pretty much the entire tech world that we deal with.
Yes.
Like, feel free to message her. Great product, and she can help you, no problem. All right, thanks everyone. See ya. Bye bye.
Thanks for inviting.
Pleasure.